I'm Allison Trimble, and my program's Willfully Guided Horsemanship. I teach a lot of people to help teach their horses and train their horses to do cow horse and reining maneuvers. I see a lot of things that people commonly do that work against them. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about some of the things that I see people do in their turnaround that works against them, that keeps their horse from being able to perform as well as it could. So what I'm talking about is when you're working on a spin with your horse. So the first thing that I see people do, and I actually like to call it maneuvering, it means that now I'm going to go turn around, and there's a body position I do, and there's things that I go through when I turn my horse around. So the first thing that I see really often is people have somehow gotten in their head that what they need to do to ask their horse to turn around is to open the door. So what you first see them do is, if I'm going to turn around to the right here, they'll immediately open the door up like this with their leg. And in being in a very unbalanced position in doing this. And so when I look at this, if I'm thinking about how I've consistently trained my horse, if I put any blockage out for my horse, I would expect them to not turn through this foot. So for example, my horse's shoulder's here. If my foot comes up here, and I know in people's head they're thinking, I'm opening up the door for my horse to go that way, I'm moving my leg off. But this is what ends up actually happening. And so what this does is, the first few times you do this, if your horse has been brought along correctly, your horse isn't going to want to turn into your leg, so you're going to have problems. So the next thing that's going to happen is your horse is going to start learning that what you want them to do is turn around when you do this. So now you've started having a confusing message with your horse about whether or not he can move into boundaries that you set for him, such as the boundaries you set with your hands, the boundaries you set with your legs. So now you're teaching your horse a confusing message that he can turn right here into this foot. So the second thing that I see happens is when someone starts to turn their horse around and they do this, the next thing they do is rock themselves out to the outside. And I mean, you will actually see it be this exaggerated in a lot of people. So they'll go to turn their horse around and they'll go open the door, rock out to the outside, and then start stepping their horse around like this. And they will actually be this pitched out. And what this is going to do is cause your horse to have to kind of load up over his outside foot like a cutter would have to. Because if I was riding a cutter, I'd load myself up over the outside here and help load my horse over its outside hip. So when you start doing that, you're taking a horse that you want to kind of lock his inside hip and step around freely. You're causing him to have to balance your weight out here, and move into your foot, sending a confusing message. The next thing that I see that causes people probably the most common problem, and I'm riding two-handed here in this bit on Oki to show you, because a lot of people who are training their horses at home oftentimes ride two-handed when they're training on them, even if they're in a leverage bit. So in a proper turnaround, my horse is going to start with his eye turned in, and he's going to lead with his nose here and step around, right? So what I see people doing, and I don't know if they know that they're doing it, is oftentimes they're going to lead with their outside hand here. So instead of the horse staying between the reins, equidistance when they turn around, and maybe leading a little bit with the inside rein, they'll end up overdoing this rein. And so what happens over time is that their horse gets bound up here. And as soon as I break the plane of my horse's neck with my hand, I'm now asking him to bend this direction. So people will be doing this and not knowing they're doing it, and now their horse starts to step behind because they keep pulling harder, and your horse gets bound up and can't follow himself. So, it's really important that your hand never breaks the plane of your horse's neck. If your hand needs to come further across here, it's because your horse isn't moving with his body as much as he needs to. You need to use your leg to speed him up. But the second that your hand breaks the plane of this horse's neck in a turnaround, you become ineffectual and you're actually inhibiting your horse. So again, the three things that I'm talking about are opening your leg and kind of maneuvering and causing kind of a confusing problem here for your horse, having your weight locked out to the outside either direction, and then using your outside hand too much in your turnaround, causing your horse to get bound up, look to the outside. My suggestion in all of this is video yourself. Video yourself whenever you get a chance. A lot of times the things that you're doing that are affecting your horse, you don't know that you're doing. You're focusing on the things that you think you need to do, and the reality of what your body is doing is not the same as what you perceive it. So a lot of times I tell my clients, until you can kind of grasp the fact that what you perceive as happening is not accurate, you're not going to be able to change anything about your program. And every one of us want to become a better rider. We want to be more effectual for our horse. So my advice is video yourself, have a friend video yourself, and just ride like you normally would. And then go back right after that and watch yourself and see, am I doing these things? You know, everything you do has to tie together. And so even if it's tying together in your head, but it's not coming across in your writing, that's going to cause you a problem. So these things, I hope that they help you with your turnaround. If you have any questions or suggestions for topics, or if you'd like to ask some more questions about this, please feel free to, and visit the website at willfullyguided.com. Remember, enjoy your horses.